and welcome back to the LEC, where we have a very special guest joining the desk. It is Perkz, who is also, I don't know if I'm too quick for production, but the Kia player of the game. I thought that was a wonderful introduction. Congratulations, Perkz.
Wow, thank you guys. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. I was just saying how I haven't been at this desk for like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
So it feels nice. Feels nice to be here.
It's awesome, isn't it? I'm really happy that we get to have players back on the desk, and especially if they're Kia player of the game. So why do you think you won the Kia player of the game?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, I did play well. Like, I think I was playing well, but I also think my teammates were just playing super well. So I just looked really good because of how well my teammates were doing. Like, my support in jungle were just absolutely smurfing this game. The cat was everywhere as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I played good, and I had high DPM, so, like, I can take it, you know.
Stats don't lie.
Yeah, I can take it, but I think everyone from my team played really well, so yeah.
That's the thing. Speaking of that, it feels like, at least synergy-wise as well, and how proactive you were on the map, at least in the early game here, it was kind of night and day in what happened in the first game. Was that just you guys having a, you know, talk all together as a teammate, just going, we need to be way more aggressive today? Was that because you had better draft? Why were you so more proactive today than the first game?
I think our draft yesterday was not bad. I just think the mid game, it requires us to execute. Like, it requires us to be more ahead early game than we were yesterday. Like, we should be like 3,000 gold up. We were like 1.5 only.
Yeah.
Like at least 3,000 or 4,000 gold up, and then it's easier to play. But yeah, we definitely talked about like us not being willing to take the fights or not being not really looking for them, right? And it was not that easy as well because Lucian's kit is kind of countered by Wukong. He can never really dash in the mid waves. So I think they actually had really good champs against Lucian Nami. Like, I hate playing Lucian against Wukong, hacker in this kind of champs. So it definitely wasn't easy, but I think today's draft also required less, how do I say? Like, this one is a bit easier to execute, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Ornhorn, for instance, and stuff like that. And I know people are criticizing like that it was like an old school draft or whatever, but what do you have to say to people like that who say that? Because it feels like if you make it easier for yourself, now that you have a new jungler, that seems like the best way to go, right?
I mean, at least it was not 0-0 into 35 minutes, first blood killing to end the game.
Yeah.
So I think we played well today. I think we communicated really well. I think we fought what we had to fight and give up what we had to give up. We could have based once that I died at Baron, like the one time we turned again. We should just base again, take tempo and go again. But that's like small mistakes. We're learning, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
How good is your read on the patch currently? Because it feels like at least like, oh, they blind pick Victor. We already have Veshul, we have Yuumi, we have Corki. We just completely outrange all of them. Do you feel like poke compositions are better into control mages like that while Laure and Nasir and Victor is coming back?
I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out, honestly. Like, yesterday I felt like I wasn't sure if I should pick like this. Then like LP and LCK is like one patch before. In LPL they're playing a lot of like how do I say, active mid laners. And in LCK they're playing a lot of mages and they're on the same patch. And then like, we're not really sure. Like, I'm not really sure what's the way. I think you can still play active mid laners and do stuff for your team to get them ahead. Then obviously you're not the carry, right? Or you can play stuff like the mages, like the Corki, or like maybe AD carries in the mid lane and do more of like the damage yourself. I think you can do both, and I don't think it's just as black and white. Like I was telling myself and my team, like there's no way just because of this patch the games are like 0-0 all the time.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, scrim games are not like 0-0, you know. So it's like I feel like it's just like the first days overreactions and like the jitters on stage that's making it look like this.
Yeah, Razork was on PGL yesterday, and we asked him the same thing because the Fnatic game was super fast. And he just said, well, we just talked before and said we weren't going to make the game slow. We were going to fight because you can still do that on this patch. So I think it's just about how you want to approach the game. But can we agree that Yuumi is still really broken? Or
Yuumi is kind of nice cat, yeah. I like Yuumi.
All right, well, thank you so much, Perkz. Congratulations. You know, you got one win already this first super week, so
nice.
Things are looking up. Oh no. Well, we'll take a minute.
No,
but
again.
Fnatic versus Excel is up next. You don't need to hear, you just need to talk. So
Let's go, Mikyx. I love you.
All right. Bye, and thank you, Perkz. And Guldborg, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we're actually going to be breaking down one of the Excel plays coming through from yesterday's games. And this breakdown is not going to be fancy in any way. What I really wanted to just go through with here is just how good Excel's rotation was. It was something that kind of baffled me in terms of like how they played in spring season and just how they're playing now with their gameplay. So let's just start it out. At first, it looks quite normal. You know, you just have an invade coming through from Markoon, right? But it actually goes way more into it. if you have a look at the minimap, for example, you can see down towards the bot side of the map, the XL bot lane has actually just crashed a wave. And just to set the context, we're about to hit 8 minutes into the game, which of course means that we'll be having a Rift Herald in a moment. Instead of having Markoon pick up the Rift Herald instead, what they'll do is just that they'll move Finn up here instead, and Markoon will still be able to just take his jungle camps because he still has majority of the blue side. So they keep the tempo going whilst Zlatan is still up on his Crocs instead. Let's once again just have a look at what actually happens. So while the Rift Herald is happening, it's completely uncontested, and the tempo is still going in their favor. Not only that, instead of moving their bot lane into the Rift Herald, they're moving their bot lane into the mid lane, and they've actually moved Nukeduck into the bot lane instead. Which means when the push finally came through from the Misfits bot lane, no CS was lost whatsoever. There was a member to pick it up all the time. So let's see what happens when again Finn moves back into the mid lane, or top lane rather. And now we've cut it above, we cut it forward a little bit. Patrik is now shoved in a wave. What he's going to be doing is that he's going to be making his way up towards the top side in just a moment. And then afterwards, we're actually going to see Nukeduck is going to try to make the same transition once again to move into the mid lane to once again make sure no CS is lost whatsoever. So they come in here, down towards Nukeduck. He's making his way into the mid lane. Pause. Vito finally getting tempo. What's that? It's still not lost. Bot lane is getting one play for free. Oh, there's a big wave down towards the bot lane. Nope. Finn is there immediately as well to come through with a teleport. So XL, throughout the entirety against Misfits, just kept the map moving, which made it so hard for Misfits to really find a way back into the game because they were never the one driving the tempo. So once again, now let's send it over to the analyst desk with Fnatic and XL for pre-match with the desk.
Thank you so much, GB. I love that you broke that down. Yes, Fnatic versus XL is what we will be getting into. Febiven, do you think in general, pro teams and in pro play, kind of wave states and keeping that 7 steps ahead in your head about that you have to catch the wave and making sure you have that, is that something that is over or underdeveloped in professional play in Europe?
Well, I think that no, for sure, there is a lot of communication going around in the early game, for sure, about stacking waves on top and bot. Usually on mid lane you can't really stack, so you don't really have many opportunities. But for sure, like communicating about the stacking waves in the early game for the dives is like very important. Maybe a bit less now because people are like, oh, the towers got buffed, so let's actually be a little bit more scared. But yeah, no, it's huge because if you actually die in the early game on a stack wave, your game might just be doomed. Yeah,
we talked about this earlier as well, right? That if the dives, which you were showing in the beginning, like the LPL likes to do them as well, it's actually not always bad if you lose a member in the process, as long as you get the wave then.
No, yeah, if you are stacking 3 waves and you manage to kill enemy AD carry, that guy will actually be, for sure, 1 level down, and it's fine as long as the support dies for you, then it will be always worth it. And I think that I want to see that more. I want to see supports not being scared to die. But yeah, for example, Hylissang would do that any time of the day. He would die like 10 times and...
But wait, Hylissang even dies to hold the wave for you, right? To try and freeze it.
I'm really glad that Febiven set it up, Trouble, because we have Fnatic here. Fnatic had a wonderful win yesterday. They were up versus Rogue, and we saw Draven and Morgana in the bot lane out of them.
I felt like that was so freaking genius, specifically for Hylissang. It's like, oh, we have such a boring meta. Mages in the mid lane, tanks in the top lane, and Hylissang's like, nope, I'll play Pyke, I'll play Morgana, I'll play anything and everything you want. I felt like the Morgana was so genius here because it counters Vi ult, it counters On ult, it counters Renata ult, and basically if Upset says, I want to walk through that Renata ult, he pops the Black Shield up and allows Draven to go in, and especially due to the fact that Draven wants to play into that Kalista lane, with the protection of the Black Shield, they were able to completely run down that bot lane and then bleed it onto the map.
Well, they didn't just run down exactly the bot lane, but the entire map. We got to talk to Razork, as I already said in PGL, and he said, we just have a state of mind while we will go for the proactive plays from the early game. We're going to take a look at some of his volley bear plays as well, but it really is a state of mind. Is this something, or the biggest thing that XL is going to have to look out for as they step into this game?
I think XL has probably, I mean, what they showed yesterday, they probably have the same read. They also played very aggressive map movements, were very clean. So I feel like we will just get a clash. We will just have 2 teams fighting, and whichever team gets a lead in early game will probably slowly progress the lead. But you never know, games can be thrown away in seconds. So like, I think this game will be very exciting.
I think the issue here is a lot of this early game aggression is pretty much closing the gap because it's a Volibear.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to dive after level 6. Because it's so easy to brawl 1v1 and 2v2 in the early game, right? And Razork favors the Volibear. Markoon favors the Volibear. And I'm like, okay, so in this particular draft, it's either going to be banned probably for both of them, or whoever gets the first pick, whoever's blue side, is just going to yoink the Volibear away because it just gives so much strength to their junglers.
Yeah, also in terms of the towers, we are going to cover picks and bans on the desk once we get into that. But there's a couple of things I want to kind of get into because we've been having Febi in the room, of course, and I heard bad things about some drafts today. So what are some traps that teams are walking into now?
Oof, Victor. I don't know. Like I don't know. I've been playing quite some solo queue, and it's like when I play Victor myself, I feel so useless. Because it's like, for example, the last game, right? He played Victor, but he played against a comp that is like has so much range, and Victor's range is actually very short, and not necessarily also that good at killing tanks unless you have like 2 to 3 items, right? So I'm just not a fan because also his wave clear is not the greatest, and I feel like mid lane right now is mostly about tempo and being able to shove, move with your team, set up with your jungle support, play for objectives, stuff like this. And I feel like the game is not just suddenly about staying under your tower and farming for a late game. No, that's not what this patch did. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like Victor is a trap in terms of, we're scaling, guys. So Victor scales pretty well. He does a lot of damage super late into the game, but you need the tempo in the early game. And I feel like Victor is really good into the instance of potentially picking like against it a Lucian or a Kalista, a very short-range AD carry, where if Victor puts down his gravity field, you can suddenly not play the game. You can not participate in teamfights. It's great. But in all full scaling drafts like this, potentially something like an Orianna that can also give a bunch of utility could potentially be better. Something like a Raj, we haven't seen, and a Z, which is also great to keeping people at arm's length. But I agree with you. Victor is pretty resident.
Yeah, I
right
think
now.
it's just like a more specific. There's just some picks that always work. There's some picks that are like specifically work very well against certain champs.
Yeah.
And it's the trick in drafting to, you know, pick that champion at the right time.
Yeah, you were saying everything is actually quite playable right now. It's all about the situation in which and also the team play. You also said in EU specifically, you can never lose if you go for a bit of scaling in your draft anyway. But we actually saw it last game because if the enemy team sees that, you have the Senna and then they just go in on you every single time.
I mean, it's about the balance, you know.
Yeah.
You cannot just pick Tom Kench, Victor, Senna, and Sejuani, and you know.
And pray you reach 50 minutes.
No, exactly. Like no, no, it doesn't work. It really does not
You're
work.
mouthing about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
was in the green room.
it might work against some teams who are not very good at punishing, but if you play against Vitality, if I would be playing against Vitality, I would be like, are we gonna just sit at our towers? No, we're not gonna do that. Like, we need to do something because else they will just.
Yeah. I think that's
Run
a
over
great
us.
introduction to this
The
pick and
ingredient to
ban.
beating Vitality right here.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just in general. I like to be aggressive.
Yeah.
And I don't like to wait and slow down and just. Yeah, chill.
I think that's great. And I think that's music to our ears because
Yeah.
we've seen some games and we've seen teams that approach it in different ways. Some teams do go for the proactive. And it's not because you pick things that can scale that you can't be proactive with them, right? I think that's also a trap that people fall into. I think we have a small delay getting into the picks and bans as well. Yesterday, we did saw out of Nukeduck for Excel, we saw the TF. And I know TF got a couple of hits, you know, but this is a couple of patches ago. And he fell out of favor a little bit. How does he fit into the current meta?
I feel like Twisted Fate is just such a peculiar champion. It's like a niche champion,
Yeah.
right? I feel like, in my personal opinion, I don't necessarily like Twisted Fate too much in the current meta because usually we would pick Twisted Fate to play for a side lane, play a little bit more aggressive, snowball. And teams right now have slowed down the pace. Why I do like it, in particular, for teams maybe like Fnatic and like Excel, is because they have showed this proactivity in their early game.
No, I don't know. We can keep talking.
Oh, perfect. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, the lights went down. Maybe some cool music is gonna drop.
TF is like a facilitator. From my experience, TF is not very good against tanky comps because you're not gonna carry. You're just gonna throw your card and you're gonna hope your team does damage. But yeah, TF is very. I think it's also specific against Misfits because Vetio.
We're getting attacked by a fly.
I feel like Vetio is they always pick TF and they ban Sylas, and
Yeah.
Sylas is the best option against TF. But yeah, they got rid of that.
Yep.
There goes the Volibear.
Yeah, it's not going to be Exactly. Lucian off the table as well, no surprise there. Ornn off the table as well, which I think makes sense in terms of, it's an easy tool, right? Especially at the beginning of a season and to blow the Ornn horn.
Yeah, I mean, Ornn is like, when I was watching D2 and they were just picking Ornn, I was like, when is this gonna get banned? And then it got banned and then they started losing every game.
Yeah. There, you got it. You saw why G2 actually failed, because the Ornn kept getting banned.
I also really love the Yuumi ban right here from the side of Fnatic, because Excel first picked it yesterday and paired it up with a Twitch, which was a big problem. And right here, you also break the Zeri-Yuumi combo apart. So if you want to play Zeri, you're probably going to have to pair her up with a little bit of more an aggressive AD carry next to her. Wukong is, of course, cream, like top of the cream right there.
Cream and a
jungler. Thank you very much. I was looking for that phrase.
Top of the cream.
Top of the cream, guys. Top of the morning.
I want to see a Lee Sin right here.
Why do you think it would be good opposite into Wukong? But I don't think he's in a great place.
I just love Lee Sin. Whenever I play jungle, I play Lee Sin. I just want to see some insect, some flashy kick, some mechanical stuff.
But it's not about what we love to see, Fabian. It's about what we will see.
I'm gonna guess that this might be a Zhao in the jungle coming in from Razork. Seeing as the Gwen has already been locked in, this creates already a bunch of space in team fights. Zhao does the exact same thing with his own bubble and his own ultimate, and Razork was a notorious Zhao player in the previous seasons as well.
What makes Gwen such a good pick right now in the meta, Fabian?
Gwen, I mean, just her immunity. Like, it's like there's very little champions that can actually deal with her on the side lane, and even in team fights, it's so hard to shut her down, and you really need to get into her space to actually hit her. And like most of the champs are ranged, but Gwen just has massive DPS and massive burst, so it's like, yeah, very hard to punish, but also insane scaling.
And Finn was talking to us on the NLC about the Gwen versus Gangplank matchup, and he said that he was more than happy to pick this one up, scale into the late game, and play towards like that Trinity Force build where you're actually pretty good versus tanks on a side lane as well. But as you can see, right in the bot lane, very bold to lock in the Kalista here, knowing that Upset and Hylissang pulled out the Draven, and they're gonna do it again.
Yeah, there we go.
No.
Well, it worked yesterday, so.
It did. Now, the question is, do not have a lot of CC to lock down that Draven. So if it's just the Wukong that's gonna knock up, very easily the Morgana could yet again come through, and then you got your Draven pretty safe in the bot side of the map. We've seen things like Zilean being played together with Draven, where you actually speed up your Draven, and then it's up to Upset to dodge everything with all this movement speed, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Probably looking for Nautilus for the Kalista, because I mean, when you play Kalista, you need to get ahead. If you play Kalista and you are not getting ahead in CS, or you're not snowballing the game, then
that was the problem yesterday. Rogue played Kalista Renata and just got completely bullied out of the lane, right? And then it was really, really difficult. So we're going to have to see something else from Excel, but they saw that game, so we will expect to do that. Rakan is also off the table, of course, a Hilly special as well. We'll see if more supports
Can I tilt Febi a little bit here?
Of course.
I think this is the time where Fnatic can pick the victor. Kalista is very low range. Wukong is diving into them. He's not necessarily too tanky of a champion. Gangplank is also pretty squishy. Sometimes he has to walk melee as well for his barrels. And I feel like with the Draven creating so much space around him, with the Gwen, with the Zhao, with the Victor gravity field, it's like Ops is gonna have a field day.
Sounds good, but it sounds like a little bait to me. I'm too far down the drain with this jump. I don't want to see it.
Okay, I hope Humanoid is listening to you. He does. I mean, he's been hovering the TF, but it got banned out. Yesterday, of course, he just went for the Orianna, which is always a good pick in literally any meta, but right now specifically.
I wonder if they will actually keep last pick for mid, or if they will actually pick support. No.
I think you leave probably support for last, because I think Hylissang can come up with so many different iterations of supports towards the bot side of the map that I feel like this guy, out of all supports that we have here, you just give him the R5 and you just counter pick and win your bot lane matchup at any time. Because Humanoid's LeBlanc is like one of a freaking kind. This guy can get literally Lissandra right here and he will win the matchup. He will win the 1 versus 1 versus Lissandra.
What about right now, Febiven?
You mean for
The
Excel?
LeBlanc versus this comp in this comp.
Well, when you see Gangplank, usually Gangplank is a squishy champ. Like when you are looking to pick LeBlanc, you don't want to play LeBlanc against Ornn, Volibear, because you're just gonna tickle them. When you play LeBlanc, you're looking to actually be able to one-shot people, because that's what your champ is about. You're not a champ that does DPS in a team fight. It's like you have only burst. And there is the
Okay, so right here, he did get Lissandra, but we've seen him on the matchup. He's so freaking good. He actually wins a matchup that's meant to be a neutralizer for LeBlanc. And right here, you can even go for the Nautilus. You can very easily go for the Alistar, or you can put an enchanter next to Draven. I think whatever they choose to go for here, it really works for them. That one is probably the best, because no matter how much hopping, skipping, and jumping Kalista does away from you, once the ultimate has been locked down, it's been locked down on her, which means that you have so much follow-up with the LeBlanc, the Draven ult.
This is gonna be a heavy bloodbath around the bot side. It's gonna be a
Surprise!
hook. It's gonna be Nautilus hook on cooldown, just chunking the Braum. If they ever get the Kalista, I mean, she will be a little bit protected, but it's gonna be Lissandra roaming down to it. This game will be about bot side. They will have GP ulti as well for the bot side at level 6 and onwards. So it's gonna be. I'm hoping for some fights.
You've been in Fnatic before. It's usually about the bot lane, but the picks are definitely spelling it out. Georgia, what do you think the likelihood is that we see the same thing we did yesterday in terms of how oppressive the Draven was?
Oh, I think it's very high likely, because Humanoid is going to definitely bleed his pressure towards the bot side of the map. He's an incredible LeBlanc. I think the 1v1 goes to him even when he's neutralized by Lissandra. And then the Draven X, whatever Hylissang wants to play, is a very deadly duo towards the bot.
Super, super interesting drafts from both sides. I was promised a lot of action, and I think we saw it in the draft, and we're also going to see it materialize on the Rift. A great rivalry, remember? The UK rivalry between Excel and Fnatic. And for the first time in so many years, it's actually worth watching. Excel is doing so well. Let's get into the game. Fnatic versus Excel.
And let's get on to Summoner's Rift. For the first time in a while,
It's
actually worth watching.
No, not the first time in a while, for the first time ever, bro.
I mean, they did go 1-1 in Spring, so 50% win rate on the year for Excel. Obviously, Fnatic historically have had the advantage as they look for something in the mid lane here, trying to sneak around.
If you show their blue side vision, they don't actually see them here. You can just flash auto.
Nukeduck. Oh, really good glacial path. Obviously, has to take E first now, but does get away.
I will say really good reactions by Nukeduck as well, because he hasn't skilled an ability, and then he has the presence of mind to see Nautilus, instantly level up his E, pop it across the wall, and get over before he gets hooked. So yeah, really well played there by Nukeduck. Small little vision pocket there that you can hug the wall and bend yourself around into it. So nice try there by Fnatic. The E start on Lissandra will make it a little bit more difficult to contest any kind of push in the early stages, but I don't think Lissandra needs to kind of contest the push. Level 6 is where she shines. And of course, I mean, you just imagine a team fight. Lissandra, Wukong, GP, whoever they target is just going to get melted. So we'll keep our eyes on where they use their ultimates.
And Febiven has promised us a bloodbath in the bot lane, and I will be honest with how some of the games have gone over the last couple of days. I would look forward to a bit of action early on. Both Patrik and Upset had very strong performances yesterday, topping the charts in terms of KDA. And they have often been the key points of focus for their respective teams.
Exactly, that's exactly right. They're the focus for both their teams, and both these teams just love to play towards these players. And if you just look at the experience of AD carries across the league, you have Kobe, who's first, and then Patrik and Upset, who are second and third. I think they joined the league roughly the same time, but these are very, very experienced AD carries at this point. Patrik played in the finals, Upset's played in finals.
You definitely have. Patrik stepping forward here. Ignite going down. They're looking for the concussive blows. The stun will hit onto Hylissang. He's going to be forced to watch away. The Eagle's down as well. The spear's available, and Patrik will rip them back. Upset now trying to trade. Cleanses away from the concussive blows himself. Patrik still putting the damage down. Won't have the win back. And Upset has to flash.
2v2 instantly at level 1, but Braum is just so powerful in them that I think Fnatic were just getting a little bit too aggressive. Look at Razork. He's just skipped all his camps. Red Raptors was looking for a bot gank, but the wave's crashing, and he knows that the bot lane's going to back away. Upset tried to use the cleanse there. Couldn't get the final auto attack in because Mikyx flashed away, so it looked a little bit awkward there where Upset hit a creep, but doesn't matter regardless, he gets out.
What a strong start for Patrik and Mikyx in the bottom lane, utilizing the fact that you have that concussive blows passive from the Braum, get those 4 auto attacks in, gets the stuns down, and because it's cleanse on Upset, they knew that also they had a summoner spell advantage.
Yeah, and just the Braum strength level 1. Hilly, nice cook here, actually hooks Patrik's jump to stop his auto attack, I believe, but still will get the last one in. And just going back to draft a little bit, intelligent draft by Excel as well, because what they did on 4-5 was they banned away Rakan, and then they just blinded Braum, knowing that they're against the Draven. So although they blinded the Kalista and the Braum at different stages in the draft, and Fnatic countered with Draven and Nautilus into these two champions, they managed to kill them level 1. I have to say more of a mistake there from Hilly, just getting a little bit too over-aggressive. We'll see how much they can punish them now, because Patrik has that double longsword.
No summoners on the side of Excel's bot lane either, though, so if they are caught, can be difficult. Now, this is smart. Markoon will jump the wall. Mikyx will then dash to him with the Braum W, and it means they can both get out.
I just saw the bottom left there. Mikyx was level 2, but he only had 1 point in Q. That was it, so took the W, jumped over. Hilly might be caught. No flash.
Razork here, though, waiting just around the corner. He's going to jump in. There's the Guardian Proc onto Mikyx, and the chase is on. The hook brings him back, and Mikyx will die. Razork secures it. Markoon's going to have to run for the safety of his tower as well. Can decoy back and will escape.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of the 3v3 comes from Patrik. But a kill over to Fnatic just means that this bot wave is the biggest issue that they have right now. Razork's just going to try to zone Patrik away.
Patrik can't stay here, right? If Razork is here and Hylissang's on full HP, how can Patrik stay underneath this tower? He could be dived. Markoon's low as well, and because of that, he loses, well, only 2 minions worth of XP, but it's still a pretty substantial amount. Razork could flash in here if they look for Patrik. Markoon's healed up, though, with the smite on the Crux.
I think the important thing in the way to look at this is XL 2v2 killed bot lane, and they had a really good wave state coming into them where you can punish Fnatic's bot lane because they have no summoners. If they try to walk up, they're dead. You win 2v2 and you're isolated, they're dead. Your jungler comes, they're dead. So they're in a very, very lose-lose situation there, Fnatic, and they've actually evened out the game now to make it so their bot lane can back off. They can take a base if they want. They've stabilized the lane phase, and they've traded even in kills so far. Hilly doesn't have sweeper up. They don't manage to get that wall in the brush, so that hurts the 2v2 a bit. So I think in isolation, XL's bot lane should still win. It just puts them on the back foot a bit.
As you say, evens out the disadvantage that Fnatic were on. Also gives Upset some time for that cleanse to come back off cooldown. You can see about a quarter of its CD remaining. Razork looking up towards the top side here as Finn has pushed forward down to about 600 HP, and Razork will meet him. Finn's gonna have to flash the ward. Razork chase, knock up, audaciously charges forward and takes the kill onto Markoon. Now trying to trade as Nukeduck comes in. No flash, of course, on Razork. Markoon is low, but Nukeduck halts his way forward glacially. And Razork, oh, audacious, one more auto would be enough. Markoon in the end takes it.
Another kill gets traded across. Finn flashes over the wall. Razork easily follows, but the beauty there is that Nukeduck has mid-push. Already TP'd back a little bit earlier, got the wave in, helps his jungler secure a kill. So Razork's the one with all the kills on Fnatic. We'll be a little bit ahead on this Zhao. We'll be more oppressive in this early game now. They should win 1v1 against Markoon. As we look at this again, Finn's just trying to drop a ward here because the wave needs to crash. Good base in TP, but he needs to check where the enemy jungler is. As he was going to ward, surprise, Razork's there.
Not really much that Finn could do in that sort of situation. Razork tries to heal up here. I think he smites the Gromp across the wall for a little bit of extra health, but Nukeduck there with the chase. Razork, of course, fully stacked on that Conqueror. It does have a lot of damage and a lot of healing in those sorts of situations, but in a 2v1 would be very difficult for him to win out that trade. Finn now hits 6, has the cannon barrage, Frozen Tomb available for Nukeduck. He doesn't get over the wall.
He failed. He doesn't have E either, so he's going to have to flash it, I think, just to make this play happen. We'll see what happens.
Wunder just hit 6, Needlework a possibility. Harrow Path coming out, Finn underneath the tower. There's the Frozen Tomb, Nukeduck tanks it, and that's well played by Excel.
Yeah, really well played. 2 tower shots taken by Nukeduck. I thought he would just get a little bit, try to rush it a bit there by just flash ulting, thinking, oh, we need to get this dive over now because Gwen can get the Needlework stacks open and then try to do more damage and trade 1-for-1. Bit of a blunder there by Nukeduck, but interesting that we come out of a replay and we're in a situation where Finn has a massive wave under Wunder's tower, and Wunder's 10% HP with no TP, so must have been a mistake there earlier on by Wunder. And now Razork started up this dragon. Markoon's playing through bot, only level 4 though. 3v3, Humanoid's around.
Upset has just reset. Now Humanoid can come across, Hylissang down to half HP. The dragon resets down to about 1,500, but of course the Rend into Smite combination is so big here from Excel. Rend into Smite about 400 HP. Mikyx trying to get away from this, puts up the Unbreakable Smite, is secured by Markoon. Razork will fall 1-for-1 so far. Hylissang has the flash, has the blast cone as well, and Patrik will not flash to follow the fight.
Oh, these teams are going toe-to-toe, aren't they? Just 1-for-1 everywhere around the map. Only top lane now going in Excel's favor as they got that dive off. Nukeduck kind of giving up a lot of creeps here to make sure his team is stable on both side lanes and he can force plays. Good little triple barrel there from from Finn, sorry. Yeah, Nukeduck's trying to force plays on both these side lanes. Either it's covering his bot lane or trying to push the advantage in top side. But like you said here, Upset just based, so whatever happens here, if their AD carry was here, Fnatic could just take this 4v3 and all of Excel would die, but it's a 3v3. XL are very aware of that. And Nukeduck, again, look at his positioning on the minimap. He's giving up his whole mid-wave just to make sure he can get here in time in case the fight is extended. Turns in for a 1-for-1, but Excel get the dragon.
course, the Ren Smite combination just makes it very difficult for Fnatic to ever get in on that Dragon. You can see Razork was trying to steal it away, but couldn't get there in time. Meanwhile, more fighting happening, Caedrel. In the first 7 minutes of this game, we've had about as much fighting as in the first 20 of any other game today. I'm loving it.
Yeah, definitely. Cannon Barrage isn't up yet, so they don't have that extra global to help them out. But, I mean, the Kalista is 2-0. Fnatic did stabilize bot, but the kills went over to Razork to stabilize it. Still a lot of resources for Patrik, means that 2v2 is in their favor, and they want to push that advantage. When you're playing Kalista against Draven, you're bound to have action. Mikyx moving towards mid. Patrik gonna take a base. Actually didn't go for the Berserk Greaves. Went for the Plated Steel Caps. A little bit more of a defensive build, but can't really blame him when there's Sins out Draven in the game.
Humanoid with some fancy feet there to dodge away from the Shard of Ice. Get some damage down onto Nukeduck. And although we often see the Lissandra into the LeBlanc, it's not a matchup for the Lissandra that she wins the lane with. It's a matchup that she can neutralize the LeBlanc with, make sure that she can't roam around too much, make sure that she can be trapped with that Frozen Tomb. Expectations are still, with the amount Nukeduck's moving around, that Humanoid should be able to get a sizable CS lead as he has done.
Yeah, I think Humanoid's going to have to start matching the roams eventually, though, because Nukeduck's going to get this blue buff from Markoon, and then he can just one-shot waves in Humanoid's face. And Humanoid needs to either answer back by trading really aggressively, or trying to crash waves when he goes to go to that blue and get good bases off and try to be ahead in the lane. Will be a little bit up in XP, of course, because Nukeduck's been giving up creeps. Now the bot push is moving towards mid. We might see a Herald start here. Markoon will be in trouble for a little bit, but his team's on the way.
Markoon needs to use the decoy pretty well here. Will dodge away, but the chain still connects. Mikyx on his way. Wunder going forward with the needlework. And he is met by Dree. Razork's already been able to take one, though. Mikyx trying to get the damage down. Patrik flashes across the wall. Needlework still coming in, but Wunder now locked in the midst of 4 members of Excel and nowhere for him to go. Can try and dash across the wall, but Nukeduck is having none of it.
This is really awkward, though, because Excel are giving up these bot waves, and they don't have a smite to start up this Herald. I think they're just going to have to commit to it anyway, but Upset's going to be the real winner here. We'll be farming this bot tower for plates, getting a lot of creeps while the enemy AD carry is kind of soloing an objective. I think a small blunder there by Mikyx. The Kalista ult didn't get the knock-up onto Razork, so Patrik was forced to flash the wall, which means that Wunder lived for long enough to make it a 1-for-1.
The Rift Herald will be taken. 2 plates go over to Upset down towards that bottom lane, so he'll be in a pretty strong position. We'll see how much this Rift Herald can do. Markoon is trying to bait for the rest of his team, but the chain still managed to connect.
Yeah, in comes Excel. The wall comes up. So Markoon does fall, but the knock-up there for Mikyx was just a little bit too far forwards. He could have got a double knock-up, and maybe they could have got 2 kills as well. The Braum passive was already on Razork. If Patrik had a little bit more space to work with, they could have punished Fnatic a little bit harder. Anyway, they're going to go 1-for-1. They're going to get the Herald as well. So now Patrik's committed to this top side. The CS numbers have evened out, and now Fnatic are the ones who have to respond to Excel's players. They want to dive top.
TP available for Nukeduck. He's trying to catch the wave down towards the bottom side, but could TP up. Of course, still pre-14 minutes, so could only go to a tower. With Patrik and Mikyx just waiting here. It looks like the play has been called off. Excel holding their own against Fnatic in the early game as the hook does go in by Hylissang. Wunder's in the area, and it looks like Humanoid is roaming up from that bottom side, or from the mid lane at least, so you can see Excel didn't really want to take much more of that fight.
Yeah, the beauty of having Herald is you can dictate the pace of the game. What you can do is send your bot lane top, try to force this Herald top, and if they respond, you can just catch waves, push waves, base, and then run towards bot and just keep the guessing game going. Patrik.
Great hook. There's the death charge coming in. Cannon Barrage being used. Patrik trying to get away, and the chase remains here for Markoon. He waited in the wings. Hylissang trying to get away. Needlework going in. Patrik has to dive back. Razork on his way up here as well. Could look at the flank. Could just jump.
Does he have vision on him? He could W flash.
Isn't going to do it. Another hook does go in, and now Hylissang down, but Razork and Wunder on the chase. Needlework not available for Wunder. Nukeduck dodges back with a glacial path. Humanoid started to recall, now comes back in. Frozen Tomb available for Nukeduck. It's a very difficult champion to dive.
Yeah, it can't dive. There's not a big enough wave, and like you said, Nukeduck has that ultimate, so a lot of resources invested for Excel. Fnatic tried to respond by putting even more, and then eventually Excel come out the winners, because now Finn's pushing in bots, should get a couple plates for himself. Maybe Wunder is actually forced to TP to this bot tier 1 to try and cover it and catch that wave to deny this GP from getting too far ahead. Dragon spawning in 8 seconds as well.
What this has done is allowed Humanoids some more time to continue to develop the CS lead in the mid lane. He's about 40 CS right now. Bot lane equalized, Upset around 7 ahead himself. You can see in terms of gold, yes, Patrik with the 2 kills is about 500 gold in the advantage. Mid lane relatively even. Jungle in favor of Razork, but that top lane is where you have to look. Wunder 1,000 gold down as the Glacial Fissure misses in the mid lane, but Markoon looking for Humanoid, very difficult to catch out a LeBlanc.
I feel like he might have seen Markoon for a split second there as he was walking up through the river. We'll see him now if Markoon decides to jump on him. He's going to go for the Krugs anyway. I think Humanoid knows here that Dragon's uncontested and Wunder's hitting bot tier 1. That means all of Excel are probably topside, and they're going to drop their Herald. So Fnatic will even out the Drakes, but Finn should be able to wave clear bot for now. And with this Herald, Excel will get first tower of the game. The question is, can they go for 2 towers? And the answer looks like it'll be no, because Patrik's moving back to mid.
Maybe if they get some treants to help them out, they could shut down the 2 towers. Saruman, though, here, Humanoid, going to defend. As he...
Very good one there.
Thank you.
Very, very good one.
Humanoid does manage to catch Markoon. The chains will land, but there's no real follow-up. And as we get through what has been a bit of a chaotic early game, Caedrel, 13 minutes in, it's 2,000 gold lead for XL. 1 dragon apiece. And so far, XL's form from day 1 doesn't seem to be temporary.
Definitely doesn't. There was a lot of excitement on social media after XL's first game against Misfits, and granted, Misfits again today looked weak. Very weak up against Vitality. XL's early game been fantastic so far. 2k gold lead. Should have pushing lanes across the map. Their team fight's pretty strong as well. Mikyx dropping a ward behind the lane there to check if Razork looks for any lane ganks. But Fnatic, the problem they have right now is all their kills are on Razork, which is good for a jungler in the early stages. But when you go to this mid to late game transition, the Draven is behind against Kalista. Mid lane is even. Your enemy GP's ahead, so it's on Razork to try and find these plays and force them. And if you just look at the items, he's basically even with Markoon right now.
Only that gold drink to complete it. He's blazing his way through this early game, though. 420 his KDA right now as Fnatic group up around this mid lane. And a difficulty for them as well is as they try and look for these picks, as they try and move into the side lanes, it's very difficult to lock anyone from XL down. Nukeduck has the Frozen Tomb and the Glacial Path. Patrik always has Mikyx nearby to protect him with that Fate's Call. And then Finn, well, firstly, Gangplank's really strong at the moment, and he is in a pretty good position. And secondly, he has the remove Scurvy. So if he's ever caught out, he can just, eat some oranges and it's K.
Eat your oranges, kids.
Great source of vitamin C.
We'll see how he uses it in this game, but yeah, I'm just thinking towards team fights, because a lot of the times what a pro player does is when it's a lull state like this where you're just catching waves, you think ahead. So you're thinking about what's the next macro play, what's the next objective to play for, but you're also thinking of, you're simulating in your head how you want to play fights. You're thinking about what your job is. And a lot of the times when teams don't know how to team fight very well, the coach will implement a rule where one person asks each other, how do we fight? How do you want to fight? The very simple answer is front to back, but if I'm Fnatic right now and you ask me as Upset, how do we fight? Hang on, I'll hold my point for now as Wunder finds Mikyx. If you're Upset, how do you fight? You've got a Braum shield in front of you, these 3 massive ultimates landing on top of you, and an exhaust from Patrik if you decide to cleanse away the Lissandra ult. So Upset's gonna have to be very careful about how he chooses these fights, and Humanoid has to be very careful about how far he dives forwards with the Lucidity boots. Doesn't have any tenacity. If Nukeduck lands the ultimate on him, he will die. So it looks a little bit tougher for Fnatic, but they have tools to buy time. If they can find one single target, Wunder should be able to melt through them. Hilly finds Markoon.
Should be fine, but of course tougher for Fnatic as well because they're 2,500 gold behind. XL very much in command of this early game. 15 minutes in, Finn pushing on towards this tier 2.
Yeah, and if you look at the history of XL Fnatic, you wouldn't really favor XL. XL have 1 win, Fnatic have 13, so Finn has to flash away there. Almost got caught getting a bit greedy for the top tier 2, and it was in Spring Split that XL got their first win ever against Fnatic. And now I feel like this version of XL just feels a little bit different coming into Summer. Obviously, just a little bit ahead of Fnatic right now. Herald spawn. Looks like Fnatic won't contest it. They could play for mid-tier 1 or force their way in here, but then you're face-checking your Braum.
Hylissang's going to be the one to face-check. The Frozen Tomb with a cannon rush just melts him.
Well, it wasn't a Braum, it was a Lissandra. Still kind of frail your ish, and you get CC'd up and die. Hilly just instantly gets popped, and I think the call there for Fnatic should have been maybe a cross-map play for the bot tier 1, but yeah, it looks like they wanted to contest it. Hilly ends up falling. Maybe they get this bot tier 1 anyway. Patrik is on the way. They have a TP on Nukeduck if he decides to base, and there's a ward behind Wunder if they want to try to punish this.
And this is the portion of the game where it actually becomes really difficult for Hylissang just to play generally, because as the Nautilus in this sort of situation, you are the face checker. You're the tank, you're the guy going in first, alongside the Xin Zhao, who can be a bit of a tank, but a lot of the time, you are the person who is given the responsibility of getting vision and stepping forward. And you can see there, you're trying to step forward into a Frozen Tomb or Concussive Blows or a Cannon Barrage, and you just melt. You've got a Kindle Gem and a little cloth shirt. Now, I will tell you this, Caedrel, a cloth shirt does not stop you from being turned into ice. You're going to get hypothermia, and that's not good for anyone.
You need more armor. You need more warmth.
Well, you need like a puffer jacket. You need, fire.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire helps. You know, just thinking about that, the Kindle Gem. When I was playing on a team with Expect and Mikyx, they say, you know, in Korea it's very common to call the Kindle Gem the Dragon Ball. He says, Expect would base and say, I have Dragon Ball in lane.
I mean, 7 of them would definitely help him in this situation.
Definitely
would. Enough tankiness, but
I think the idea for Fnatic is I think it was Lyric or someone in the LPL was calling it they can't touch this top side, you know, the Xin Zhao Gwen with the W and the Xin Zhao ult. Buying space, buying time, giving as much room for the Draven to be able to walk up and hit. We'll see if they do that on this Dragon, because XL want to contest it. Mikyx going to get chunked out a little bit.
It's still got the face call, though. Always important to remember that when you see a Kalista in the game. It can look a little bit tricky for Mikyx, but he has that safety net. Second dragon of the game, though, perhaps forfeit here by Excel. They'll put the Rift Herald down to try and get some priority in this bottom lane, but my expectation is they'll just look for the tower instead of looking for a fight alongside it. Humanoid now running down.
Oh, they're diving Wunder. The tower will die. Wunder has no way out of this.
Yeah, Wunder caught up in the Cyclone. Humanoid is here, but he only lands the chains onto a minion. Wunder goes down. Meanwhile, Hylissang caught out by Nukeduck, who misses the Everfrost. Razork diving forward as well, but he's all on his lonesome. The exhaust comes out. Razork trying to heal up with the Gold Drinker Patch. He's going to get knocked up here as well. Hylissang lands the hook, and Humanoid dives in, but the Immortal Shield Bow is exactly the Patrik! You can't kill him! Didn't die yesterday yet to get taken down today, as Excel win the fight down towards the bottom side.
And their game plan was pretty clear. They didn't even use the GP ult. I wonder if it was up in that fight. Finn still has it available, but their game plan was pretty clear. Let's just play for this bot tier 1. Go for Wunder because the Herald's going to kill the tower. Wunder almost kills Mikyx here in this 1 versus 4. That could have changed the fight a little bit, but then the rest of Fnatic collapse. I feel like Razork goes a little bit too deep, a little bit too early here. Jumps in, he's alone, he dies. Now watch Patrik, his flash is pixel perfect because the Nautilus will knock up a little bit earlier, will allow Upset to hit. Finn zones away Upset, and then Humanoid doesn't have the damage to take down Patrik. So this kind of ball comp that Excel have with so much CC and so much burst is just too powerful for Fnatic to crack.
And now they are 3,500 gold ahead at the 19-minute mark. Patrik still unkilled, building his way up towards that Ginsu's mid lane tower. Their next target, they'll have taken all of the tier 1s if they can secure this. Hylissang and Razork trying to do what they can to defend, but still, only kills really on Razork. There's one on Upset. Yes, he is getting stronger. Second item complete on that Draven, Essence Reaver now.
How much gold did Upset get? I completely overlooked that. How much gold did he get for that kill? I have to...
We will find out, I'm sure.
He must have got a hell of a lot because he must have had God knows how many stacks, but he's definitely cashed out, regardless of if they win or lose. Dinner is on Upset. And now it's just mid lane waves contest. 2 dragons for Fnatic. Still...
It's a steak dinner if they win, and McDonald's perhaps if they lose.
Definitely is. Finn might be cold though.
Yeah, Humanoid looking at the damage here. Second chain comes out, but look at the cannon brush. Humanoid just forced out, has to pop the stopwatch. Wunder hit first. Nukeduck trying to do what he can with the Ring of Frost. Finn somehow taken out in the end, just ticks away. Nukeduck will chase forward, but good dash away by Wunder means the Ice Shard will not connect.
That favors Fnatic because they get a shutdown onto Wunder. Will end up backing away. Nukeduck tried his best to chain CC basically both of them at the same time to try and keep Finn alive. TP's invested, even trade across the board, but again, like I said, a little bit more gold for Wunder, but no objectives to play for. 2 items complete on both Patrik and Upset. Mid-waves contest coming back in, and I feel like one person from XL needs to go towards top by the looks of the pings on the minimap, or do they fancy themselves a fight? Razork has no flash.
They have been constantly looking for picks like this. It kind of dictated the pace of the game over the last 5 minutes, and we are moving slowly towards that team fight phase. Still feels very difficult for Upset to find his avenue to approach these fights, especially with Nukeduck 404 on this Lissandra. He's
not found.
Yeah, enemies might not be found. They might just be burst and then found as ice effigies come back to wreak their vengeance against their former teammates. And XL have done a very good job of constantly finding picks and accelerating the game without giving Fnatic too many opportunities. Now, the fights have been close, and a little bit extra damage here or there would have been enough to turn it, but XL constantly coming out on top, and they've now enacted this 1-3-1 split push, something we haven't seen too often throughout the course of spring, with the game being a bit slower, with these scaling side laners being a little bit stronger. It looks like XL are ready to bring it back to the meta.
And I think the last 10 seconds kind of shows why split pushing is so hard these days. I mean, Fnatic can either give up the mid-wave or just instantly burst the mid-wave down and just collapse on sides. Hylissang might be collapsed on here as Finn is looking for him. Mikyx lands the Q, but he should be all right. Contest on the Raptors coming through. Markoon wants them.
Really does. Upset constantly scaling up though with this Draven. Did get 1,180 gold from his first kill, just from the passive. So alongside whatever. 180. That's a lot of gold, and XL looking to get 1,500 gold of their own by taking down the Baron. Of course, gives you that buff as well, but Fnatic...
Sneaky.
Perhaps don't really know. A couple of pings coming out on it. Razork's going to step forward.
They should know.
Now, the end will do a lot. Finn there as well. Markoon low, and the Whirling Death will spell the end of it, you have to feel, for XL. Would have been sneaky to take it. Of course, Rend Smite very powerful, but XL don't want to take a possible fight.
So what gave it away there was the fact that Nukeduck used his E on top of 3 members of Fnatic. It would have been an incredible engage, but he didn't go in. And at that point, you have to question, why would he throw E at us and not go in if he's not trying to act and trying to force us back? So at that point, Fnatic's brain just snapped and said, oh, they're on Baron. Upset instantly tossed the ultimate out, and they're forced away. XL's Baron is great at securing it with Kalista, but it's not so good at actually getting the Baron HP down, because Lissandra is not so great. Wukong pretty slow. You know, it's just on the Kalista to get it down. So I think if they want to try to force a Baron, they need a numbers advantage or at least look for some kind of turn.
Even Kalista doesn't have the strongest auto attacks to take it down. Upset though, pinged with the Winter's Bite. Locked in place, has used the cleanse, will flash the wall, but the chase is on. Face call, cannon barrage, Upset down. Patrik on a killing spree, Humanoid looked for some damage himself. Razork goes in, Mikyx the only one low. Nukeduck with a frozen tomb, down towards the bottom side. A double now for Patrik, and the chase continues. Ring of Frost lands onto 2. Finn with the barrel takes Hylissang's head. And Excel with 3 quick kills in the mid lane are looking for 4 as Wunder is chased away towards the Baron pit.
This is the numbers advantage we were talking about. That should be a pretty much free Baron for Excel unless Humanoid can find some magical steal. The ping boards are going to get taken up. 5 members of Excel are just going to start it. I think Humanoid best consolation prize here is just to take Dragon. Will be a bit slow, but it will get them on Soul Point. The question is, can he do it? Looks like he's doing the crab on the minimap right now, but we'll look at that later because Upset just disrespecting here, walking up on midwave too deep. Mikyx kind of engaging on Braum there, and it's really awkward for Upset because the second the Braum Q hits, you can't flash away because they're going to be in range to chase you. And then you can't cleanse either because you're not stunned, so you have to tank a brunt of damage from the bot lane of Excel. The second you flash the wall, Mikyx follows, and basically your AD carry's dead and you can't peel for him. So from that point onwards, Excel mop up, get some kills, and then they get themselves a Baron. We'll have to see if Humanoid did get that Dragon in the end, but I don't think he did, so Fnatic lost out on everything.
And Excel just in such strong form at the start of summer. Obviously, it is a long split, 8 weeks and playoffs ahead of us, but going 2-0 in your first 2 games would be a very good look for this team. The development in their Korean bootcamp over the off-season seems to be working wonders for them, and Fnatic struggling to really find purchase after an early sort of flurry of fights. 7,000 gold now, the lead for Excel. Bounties available for Fnatic. They can see on the screen just how far behind they are. And at the moment, the Excel 4-player squad down towards the bottom side are pushing in towards this inhibitor tower. Excel just going to be able to take it. Humanoid trying to clear out some vision, but the inhibitor tower does fall. All the while, Wunder looking for some gold himself as he's up towards the top side. Finn will take a tier 2 in the mid lane as well. The inhibitor still stands, but 25 minutes in.
Oh, and engage.
Excel looking for a lot here. Stopwatch, Razork going forward. Crescent Guard coming out, but Patrik untouched. Glacial path forward. Patrik doesn't have too much damage as Wunder comes back in. Finn looking for some damage himself as Wunder just melted by Patrik and by Excel. Patrik flashing forward, and Excel are feeling themselves. A double kill for Patrik. The Nexus, their next target. Upset Humanoid and Razork have to pull a rabbit out of a darn big hat to fight back in this one. Humanoid jumps in, Patrik back to full HP, and Excel are looking for the win instead. With the minion wave pushed in the mid lane, they might just look for another inhibitor.
Fnatic looks like they can hold for now, but their base is in shambles. Like you said, 1 inhibitor down. Excel don't fancy themselves the second. They're just going to back off, don't want to take any risks. A lot of big gold number shutdowns on their AD mid and jungle. So they're just going to back away. Wunder had to TP into that fight, but the second he arrived, he got instantly deleted. And yeah, I mean, it looked good initially, but I think the stopwatch from Patrik is what sealed the deal, because that's all the CC they relied upon for Razork and Humanoid to gap close. But the second that was down, Mikyx in front of him with the shield, Markoon zoning away Humanoid. By the time Wunder arrives, Excel have re-established themselves to kind of group up as 3. He dies because Markoon still has another tick of the ultimate. And then it's just Fnatic having to run for the hills. The inhib falls, but the death timers are so short. 24 minutes in, they're diving them towards their Nexus.
Honestly, it's just really beautiful to watch the zone control. Patrik pops the stopwatch, Mikyx then in front of him, Nukeduck goes in, buys time with the frozen tomb with the stopwatch, you have the cyclone on top of that. It's so difficult for Fnatic to ever get on Patrik, who's basically untouched.
And it's unreal to see the development from Excel and what time can do after Mikyx joins the roster. You know, Finn on Rogue, his debut wasn't great on CLG, never really had the heights of his career. He looked like he was on a downwards trend. Similar for Mikyx, he was never the carry on G2. He was kind of like the silent slot in, fill whatever he needs to do. Nukeduck on Astralis never found success. Well, of course, Mikyx was a fantastic player on G2, right? But he was never that star. But ever since he came together, all these players from different backgrounds have come together alongside Patrik and Markoon. And now we're at a day 2 in Summer Split where they're kind of demolishing Fnatic 26 minutes in, looking for their second inhibitor.
It's never really looked too out of control for Excel. They're looking for that second inhibitor. The inhibitor tower would be their third if they can take it. Fnatic, though, still trying to hold them at bay, trying to keep their base in some semblance of form. Mikyx going in, Hylissang down as well, concussive blows 1 away. Wunder on the front line, good knock up onto Patrik, but that's the engage used once again. Hylissang, no flash, no dredge line, no depth charge. Of course, that Q will come off cooldown in just a moment. Excel willing to back away, know that they don't need to overforce. Baron up in 2 minutes. A Cloud Drake for them as well in 1:40 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like they're being extra careful. I mean, we saw what Upset could do on Draven yesterday with the Draven Morgana, dishing out so much damage in those fights. I think he was 10-1 with so much damage dealt in that game. Wunder as well had an insanely good game on Gwen yesterday. Even tweeted after that game that he's going to get MVP this split or something like this. So he was definitely feeling himself, building towards that Zhonya's third item. I think that's what Fnatic's waiting for. A little bit more item spikes, Void Staff on Humanoid, Zhonya's for Wunder. Maybe an Infinity Edge would be fantastic for upset, and then they can start to fight back because their CS numbers are good, but they're just so far down in objectives.
Really in a bit of a hole right now, and for Excel, we don't want to overblow these first couple of games, but they have looked really strong. They've looked like they know exactly how they want to play. Their synergy seems to be really on point, and if they can finish off this game and take a win versus Fnatic, because that was a great Halo path to get Wunder out of it, but Razork steps forward, Crescent Guard coming in, and Razork didn't really realize perhaps that Wunder had escaped. Razork will fall, another kill over to Excel. As they look towards the mid lane now, Upset and Hylissang and Humanoid have to try and defend. Wunder can, of course, join his teammates. 1-3-1 enacted once again by Excel, as this exemplary performance by them may be coming to an end pretty soon. Triple inhibitor would be their target. Mickey chunked out though. Hylissang with a good hook. Markoon going to be rooted in spot, but the cannon barrage goes out and Upset's down to half HP. Mickey now going in with a Glacial Fissure as well. Hylissang trying to survive, but he just can't against the dive threat that is Nukeduck. And now only one Nexus tower remains between Excel and only their second ever victory versus Fnatic. They lost 13 times, and 13 is unlucky for some, but perhaps not for Excel. Humanoid trying to do what he can, but Patrik is still untouched. Unless you can get on the Kalista, she will rend you asunder as Excel take the Nexus and remain undefeated.
It's a really hard draft for Upset to kind of walk up and dish out any damage. You even saw it in the last fight, like the GP ult on top of him. He could never really walk up anywhere. Yes, Grant they got caught out on mid-waves a little bit too much, and XL was punishing them when they did walk up. But after that Baron, it was really hard for coming back. I mean, their CS numbers were good. They were holding on, but they were waiting for that break point. Maybe an Infinity Edge on Upset start fighting back, but they never really found it because XL just started to force the plays.
They did such a good job of forcing those plays as well. We talked a little bit about how the teams would manage through team fights. It felt like a lot of the time XL were the ones proactively finding picks before the team fight even really began. Nukeduck on the Lissandra had a stormer of a performance, and of course for Fnatic it's a little bit of woe, a little bit of weary, but still 1-1 so far on the week, and it's a long split ahead of us. They have a lot of time in which they can continue to develop.
Yeah, and all these players' goals will be worlds, right? Later on down the line, it'll all come down to playoffs. We know how teams will develop, and I'm sure this Fnatic roster will easily develop to get better come playoffs. They've got 8 weeks to do so, plenty of time. It's only day 2, of course.
Yep.
But yeah, XL now 2-0.
Yes, that they are. It's crazy. If you think about it, like you come into this split, you haven't heard the rumors about how XL are doing in scrims, how the Korean bootcamp's going, and you're like, they're 2-0 beating Fnatic and beating Misfits. Like, whoa, okay. XL have totally changed around, and you can vote for one of them in your Kia player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Then Markoon and Patrik are your options. Oof. Now, you got to give it to Patty. Still undefeated, still unkilled in 2 games.
Hello, this is Patrik. Yeah, I think all of them had pretty good games. Markoon just being where he needed to be at the right times. Patrik doing work in bot lane with Mikyx in such a volatile matchup. Bit of a blunder from Hylissang at level 1, just kind of gave them the advantage that they never really found a way to balance back out. Yes, Razork got ahead, but the bot lane never found their way back into it because they never really got any of the kills.
They really didn't. It was a struggle all around for Fnatic, and the bot lane focus that we thought would happen did happen a little bit in the early game, but then XL moved their pieces around a lot and actually focused a lot on getting Wunder behind in the top lane.
We're seeing a lot of bot lane focus so far in the LEC split. I mean, normally we're seeing kind of like Oran's top most of the time, Sejuani's, a little bit of Na. We aren't seeing the Kales so much we've seen in the eastern regions, but bot focus seems to be the aim of the game for the LEC teams.
It definitely does. I think we are just prepping for an interview with the Gangplank, the top laner for XL, Finn Yar.
Yar.
You can do an accent for us? VoD does these accents all the time, so this is kind of the test.
But he's Welsh, so he's got a really easy accent to it. He's got the segue in.
Do you know a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
Nah, you'd think it would be R, but actually he's got a love of the sea. Let's hand it over to Laure, who's standing on stage with Finn.
Thank you, Medic. Finn, thank you so much for joining me after this game. Congrats on the start of a super big and amazing game today against Fnatic. Talk me through the game and the decision-making around this, because you were holding the pace, playing around Fnatic's lack of macro here, if I may say. Tell me about it.
Well, that's a bit rude to say, like a macro. I think they were trying their best, but I mean, bot lane was very volatile this game. It was Kalista versus Draven, so basically whoever gets the snowball going kind of gets to take over the game. So we just made sure we played on our tempo, we made sure we fought with our Kalista, made sure she had the resources necessary to fight the enemy. Because if you just leave her alone there, she's gonna struggle.
Of course.
So we made sure we helped her.
And we saw from the other side that Upset sometimes maybe have left alone from Fnatic. And there's a fight I want us to review here, the 18 minutes fight, just before you grabbed Baron. They're here in the mid lane, and you're seizing this opportunity once again. Talk me through what happened and how you made this one happen.
Yeah, so they were actually contesting this mid wave as two. Like they had their 2 carries on mid wave, which is pretty rare. Usually you contest the mid wave as the whole group if you really want that wave. And if you don't want that wave, you want to catch it very safely behind your tier 2, basically. So we saw them contesting as 2 mid, and the 2 carries were alone, so we were like, wait, this is illegal. They can't do that. So we just went, and we got a good fight out of it. And it led to one thing led to another, and we got the Nash. So
yeah. And the game rolled after that. Yeah. Lovely, indeed, as it is. Amazing start from Excel here. And I was talking to Markoon yesterday. We were talking about the benefits of the bootcamp, but also you guys doing much better by the end of spring. How strong do you feel right now? You, yourself, and as a team also?
No, we feel pretty good, I would say. I think that the scrim performances the last month or so have been exceptional, and I think we're all on very good terms with each other. We tackle problems easily. We can discuss without it's getting too personal, and I just feel very good about these 5 players.
That is very important, being able to give feedback and talk to one another. I know that spring for you, Finn, was about coming back and maybe proving yourself in EU. What is summer about?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
What is summer about for you? Because I know that coming back in spring, you are looking to prove yourself among EU top laners. But yeah, tell me about summer and what you're looking to prove.
We just want to play the best game possible that we can and become the best team that we can.
Yeah.
I think that's all.
And it's looking amazing for you guys so far. Now, moving forward to the match of the week, Rogue and G2 will play next. What can we expect from this matchup? Where should we look at?
Yeah, I think Rogue has a really good chance of taking this one. Seeing as G2 maybe hasn't scrimmed as much in the new patch. Yeah. Huge meta shifts in some degrees, some maybe not. And I think Rogue are looking super strong. I think they lost the game yesterday, but I do think it's a very solid team, and they really stick to the fundamentals well. So I expect Rogue to take this game, but it can be very bloody.
Any specific matchup we should look at here?
It's always the mid lane, isn't it? I think, I mean, my boy Larsen is going to smurf.
All right, we'll see that right after the break. Finn, thank you so much for joining me today. Congrats again on taking down Fnatic. And we're going to take a short break now, and we'll be back in just a few minutes for the LG Ultra Gear match of the week, G2 Rogue. Stay tuned, guys.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
G2 versus Rogue. Our first match of the week. A rematch of the spring finals.
Comp keeps it going. Blake just outside of Caps' range. Comp, you absolute madman. He goes golden, but he's got so much damage. The stacks are still there. He's like lightning.
But when it mattered most, these two teams could not be more different.
And the death of Rogue is written in stone! G2 claim their 9th title!
Now we're back in summer. Will Rogue continue their dominance over the regular season, or can G2 show us more than just a glimpse?